Boop, Ray Watt.
My name is Ray, and I am funky, and I'm the host of Science Monkey. God made the oceans, he made them last, and on the seventh day, he made this podcast. Yeah.
Did God really make the oceans last?
I don't know, I had to rhyme.
I think he was okay. I think he made them on the third day. We'll have to go check.
Do you know what I was doing there?
A bad rap battle.
That was my tribute to Prince.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Some
Went
fan you
right
are.
over my head. Which
Because
song were you riffing off?
That was My Name's Prince.
Oh, okay.
But I went with My Name's
I'm
Ray.
already embarrassed
Which
now.
doesn't, Funky rhymes with Science Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
I name check Prince because it's relevant to today's topic. Before we get there, we have some viewer mail.
Ah, yes, we do.
Listener mail. No one actually views us.
Yeah.
Let me dial up the mail here. So our first email comes from a listener named Catherine, who will go further unnamed. Catherine writes, "Hi, I just finished listening to the most recent episode of Science Monkey and wanted to reach out about one of the last points that was made. Graham said something about how people can have very different metabolic rates.
Right.
And I've actually been doing lots of research about this over the past few months, and to my knowledge, this point is neither true nor supported by the scientific literature."
At this point, I'd like to point out that my PhD is in classical Chinese literature.
Which is the kind
in
of
my
science.
defense. So what do I know about metabolisms?
Catherine continues, "On the contrary, barring medical conditions, specifically those related to thyroid functions such as PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, there is actually remarkable consistency with regards to basal metabolic rate. Height, weight, and
basal.
age and sex, although it appears to be less than was once thought, are the factors that affect basal metabolic rate. But in two men with the same body mass, the same age, and the same height, there isn't any significant difference between their BMRs. As well, you can't really damage your metabolism, as is often believed. In studies of anorexics, once they return to a normal weight, their BMR does as well. This supports the idea that metabolism is pretty stable, both across individuals and within one person's life, although BMR does decrease with age, weight loss, etc." So the book excerpt that we've linked on our website, the one called How an 1836 Famine Altered the Genes of Children Born Decades Later, doesn't actually mention changes to BMR. Instead, it discusses other disease risk factors and earlier death that may be influenced by parental exposure to famine.
You've unquoted Catherine already. That last bit was you.
No, that was Catherine.
That was Catherine.
Well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That report on that study, that article mentions increased obesity, but it doesn't say what the mechanism was. I was the one that assumed that the obesity was stemming from a change in metabolic rate, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
So mea culpa, people. Clearly, we're not experts on many things, but we do the best we can.
So what I want to know then is what causes the bounce back from when people go on diets. I guess what's happening is I guess it's proof that your metabolic rate remains constant regardless of what you do. Because this is what the theory I've heard, that you gain more weight after you go on a diet because your body actually slows down its metabolism to try and get you back up to the weight it thinks you should be at. But
I'm not going to express an opinion on this.
All right.
In my experience, nutritional sciences are under such constant evolution that whatever I say today will be disproven next week. I don't know.
Also, there's a terminology thing. So what Catherine's referring to is basic metabolic rate.
Basal metabolic rate, BMR.
Or basal metabolic rate. Now, what's the other metabolic rate? The metabolic rate that's...
There's functional metabolic rate.
That increases when you're exercising and so forth. Okay.
Yeah. We should one day have an actual expert on this topic and to educate us all.
So correction, basic metabolic rate doesn't change that much across individuals of equal weight, equal sex, and equal age. Right?
That's correct. So we have another comment. This is from Melissa, who doesn't challenge us on any of our points, but instead says, "I wanted to say thank you for your first podcast. I too read the article about breastfeeding and intelligence, and the stress it caused me probably contributed to my postpartum depression. Hearing you dissect it helped me to rationalize that I had done the best for my kids, despite one study's flawed findings, and they will likely grow up to be healthy, intelligent, and happy, not because of the little breast milk I killed myself to give them, but because I spend as much time and energy as I can engaging with them and talking to them about all manner of things in the name of learning." Yay, we changed the world.
We did a good thing.
Or maybe change one person's perception of the world.
That's great.
We have another question, which if we have time, we'll get to later because it's actually a question that requires a more detailed answer. Before we get there, let's jump into today's topic.
Oh, Is Catherine the first responder in nutrition, or
She is not
okay, right.
an expert in nutrition.
Because I thought maybe we could get her to come on the
She
podcast.
probably is more of an expert than we are, so perhaps we could get her to come on.
Okay.
Hey, Catherine, want to come on Science Monkey? We can't pay you, but we'll give you whiskey.
That's right. We should get some Science Monkey mugs or something.
Swag.
Swag. So what are we on to now?
Our topic today...
And thank you, listeners.
Thank you, listeners. Keep them coming, by the way. We have other viewer mail, all congratulatory of our expertise and our suave manner. One person actually suggested that our voices are too deep.
Too low.
So we're going to feminize it slightly. I don't know.
I don't know if feminize is the right word.
That's true. It's not the right word. I'll edit that out. We're going to raise our pitch slightly.
I'm going to kick you in the nuts, and we'll do the podcast that way. Free of charge this time.
Oh, so generous.
And we should just get some helium, because it's all leaving the planet anyway.
We should get it in while it's still here.
While it's still here.
Today's topic has to do with our favorite celebrities dying. And this year, both Graham and I had the horrible experience of having to deal with David Bowie's death. We're both big fans of David Bowie.
I think other people had to deal with it.
No, it was just us. We had to deal with it alone. Nobody understood our pain. And of course, then Alan Rickman died, and Merle Haggard, and most recently Prince, and of course, scores of other famous people. And this has got people on the internet talking all the time about how, is there a curse of 2016 where celebrities are dying more commonly than in other eras or years? What do you think, Graham?
No, there isn't.
That's the easy
Okay, next
answer.
topic.
Well, there's actually something called the curse of Aaron Ramsey. Ever heard of this?
No.
Aaron Ramsey is supposedly a soccer player. Football.
Supposedly a football. We
And-
can verify that. Was he or was he not a football player?
And there's some trend that anytime he scored, a famous person would die. So apparently he scored, and then David Bowie died, and he scored, and the next day Alan Rickman died, or something like that. Maybe it had to be a British celebrity. So in Britain, apparently, people are all about the curse of Aaron Ramsey. Completely unknown here.
It's a lot to put on Aaron Ramsey.
He's doing fine.
So I think this must be a case of the white van effect, isn't it?
What's the white van effect?
White van. I don't know if I'm citing that properly. Where if you suddenly notice a white van in front of your house, and it catches your attention, and then you start to be suspicious of it, then you start noticing white vans everywhere because you're looking for them. And so it's not really a change in your environment; it's a change in how you're selecting what you're focusing on in your environment.
I've never heard the term white van effect, but yes, that is what is happening. It has a different name in population sciences.
No, it's the white van effect.
I think there are two things happening here. We call them detection bias and information bias.
Right.
So detection bias is what you've referred to as the white van
Right.
effect. And that's when simply by looking for a thing, you find that thing.
See it more, yeah.
So I'll give it a famous story about detection bias. Not famous at all. It's famous in my life because I tell it all the time to my students. I was involved in a study in South America where we were upgrading a certain country's ability to deal with HIV/AIDS. And the project implementation plan for this particular project in South America had to specify how we're going to measure success. Now, the project involved training doctors how to treat HIV patients better. It involved training villagers and civilians how to deal with palliative care of HIV patients. And it dealt with empowering the labs to better detect more cases of HIV/AIDS.
What part of South Africa was it? Was it urban,
South America.
rural? Oh, South America. Sorry.
Yeah, I won't specify the country, but it was mostly urban.
Urban.
And part of our implementation plan required us to specify how we're going to measure our success rates 5 years later. And one of the things that were on the list of measurement indicators was the number of HIV cases would decline after 5 years. Clearly, though, if we are improving the country's ability to detect cases, we're going to find more cases.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not true that more cases are actually incident. It's just true that we're finding more. There are always a high number. So that's a case of detection bias. The act of looking for a thing actually causes us to think that there is more of a thing.
Right. Yeah.
White van effect. Now, the other half of the celebrity issue is the information bias. In this case, it's a kind of information bias called ascertainment bias.
Okay.
So information bias is changes or lack of specificity or vicissitudes in how something is defined.
All right.
And there's a whole host of different kinds of information bias. But the ascertainment bias aspect of information bias has to do with the definition of a thing.
Right. So who counts as a celebrity?
Who counts as celebrity?
Right.
In the
What
world
counts as death?
well, I think when your career is over, that's right. In population sciences, the most common source of ascertainment bias was something like redefining the diagnosis criteria for a disease. Right. So there was a time when AIDS was defined not through a test of serum or saliva, but by visually appraising a patient. Right. So that caused a change in how many cases we detected.
Right.
So yeah, what constitutes...
Well, psychological disorders this is rampant, right? Because every time they bring out a new DSM, they redefine things. All of a sudden things appear and go away.
In fact, if you were to look at diabetes rates in the USA over the past 100 years, suddenly the rates dropped dramatically sometime in the 1930s or 40s.
Right.
That's because the definition of diabetes changed.
Right.
It wasn't because something dramatically changed in terms of the population's response to diabetes. So in the case of celebrities, you said it correctly, what's a celebrity?
Yeah.
So think about your grandfather's generation, the 1920s or something. What was a celebrity back then?
Right.
Well, probably as a film star.
Yeah.
Today we have like YouTube stars, we have soccer players, we have politicians, we have wealthy business people are celebrities now. And so everyone's on our radar as being a celebrity.
Right.
That's the first thing to consider.
Also, people are getting older.
They are not.
Yes, we all are. Aside from, let's see. I guess they're all fairly young. Bowie, Rickman, and especially Prince, right? They were all...
Right. So Bowie was 69, Rickman was 69 as well, and Prince was 57.
Yeah.
But in general, you're right. So let's say the new era of celebrity definition was, what, 1970s or so?
Yeah.
That's when this
There's
idea...
an explosion of celebrities.
And those people are now entering the dying years,
right, exactly.
as it might be.
Yep.
Now, there's been a couple of studies on this. The BBC podcast, More or Less, actually went through all the BBC obituaries.
Right.
And tried to see, in fact, those who warranted a BBC obituary or naturally celebrities, whether that number had increased over time. No, it hadn't increased over time. And there's another study that I will post a link to on our website, looked at famousdeaths.com, I think the website is called. Isn't that amazing? There's a website called Famous Deaths.
They have websites for, is so-and-so alive yet? And you go to them and they say yes or no.
One day we'll be on that list, Greg.
That's right.
But Famous Deaths did the same analysis, and they found no, there are no changes in terms of the number of famous people dying over time, at least in the past 5 or 6 years that they've done the analysis on. Right. But we live in a unique era. We have more information. So all these new phenomena may emerge.
And social media drives us too. It seems to be, we have this sort of very large public outpouring that feeds upon itself. And so I think once people get into the mourning mode for one celebrity, then any other celebrity that comes along instantly gets caught up in that, right? So
I think this is all cover for Aaron Ramsey. He's out there killing people. We have another question from a listener, and this listener is actually a dog.
Nice.
I know. We have a first question from a dog. Dogulus Prime.
How do they type dogs?
Very carefully.
Maybe they have some sort of barking recognition software.
That extra sort of
that
claw they've got by the elbow.
That always freaks me out a bit.
That's the typing claw.
Okay. The typing claw. There's a typing rebellion in China.
Dogulus Prime is a dog and says, woof. Hello, gentlemen. I'm wondering something about planets.
He's a polite dog.
Indeed. How long would civilization last if the sun were to suddenly die or disappear, I imagine? Days, weeks, or months?
It's a neurotic dog. It's worried about the sun.
I'm glad someone's worried about this, even if it's a dog.
See, that it's the curse of intelligence. You start to worry about these things.
So this is actually a fairly common question that appears.
Well, if the sun were to blow up or do something catastrophic, we're not going to last very long. So the question is I'm not going to use the word that starts with P and sounds like Ozit. The question is based on the assumption that the sun just blinks out of existence.
That's right.
Okay. So we've lost all of our source of heat.
I'm curious to see how you work through the problem.
I assume we can go underground. What's the question again?
The question is, how long was civilization
last?
Yeah, we can break that any way. Like, how long would life last?
Right. It's a good question.
Let's break it down. First of all,
we're going to have artificial light and artificial heat for a long time.
Okay. Break it down before that.
Okay.
Before we do break it down, I want to point out that this has been well discussed on the internet. Apparently it's a common question.
Okay.
And in fact, there's a YouTube video that we'll link to. Physicist Brian Greene talks a bit about it for a minute. There's a Business Insider article that goes deep. Follow the journals to look into this. Business Insider went a deep analysis into this question.
Well, they want to know how much longer they can sell crap after the sun is gone. How long will this business be viable?
There are two major forces at work here. There is the gravitational presence.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
And there's the light and heat. So
wait a minute. All the planets are just going to float away, and they're not going to have... Oh. And then what's that going to do with... Aren't there inertial forces? I mean, will the...
Yeah. Which happens first? Does the light and heat stop coming, or does the gravitational forces stop coming?
I I think the gravitational forces would.
It's a good question. So Newton believed that you were correct, that gravity would affect us instantaneously, but we know light travels through space and takes time. So it takes light about 8 minutes to reach us from the sun.
Right.
But Einstein showed us that gravity travels at the speed of light.
At the speed of light.
So in fact, the effects of gravity and light would affect us instantaneously.
So we've got 8 good minutes before everything goes to shit. You know?
But we wouldn't know about it. So if the sun disappeared right now, we wouldn't know until 8 minutes later.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, we'd have that. We wouldn't know.
But then the people on the other side of the planet who are in nighttime right now wouldn't even know for 7 minutes after that.
Unless the gravitational effects are felt
Well, that's true.
everywhere on Earth at the same time.
That's true. So one of the first things they'd notice probably is they'd stop seeing the moon because the light from the moon,
Right.
light from the sun would stop being
moon would
reflected.
blink out,
And then the light from the planets, other planets, would take several more hours.
Right.
Because we see Mars and Venus and Jupiter
yeah,
because the sun reflects off them, so they'd blink out as well.
Yeah, we generally aren't looking at those. Well, Venus, maybe. That's not the serious effect, though. The serious effect is how long we can stay alive for. Well, I have no idea. There's so many variables.
Do you think we would freeze to death instantly?
No, of course not.
Why not?
Just, the Earth already holds heat in the ground.
That's right. So the Earth actually has a pretty good carrying capacity of heat.
The water carries heat. I mean, probably could live off of that heat for a little while.
So in fact, they think it'll take about...
Wait. I'm going to say we could last for a month. There you go.
Okay. Well, the projections I've read about suggest that within days, the world would be 100 or so degrees below freezing.
Just days?
Just days.
Wow.
Within weeks, it would be just 50 degrees above absolute zero.
Holy crap. Okay, so a month is way too optimistic.
Now, if for some reason we were able to marshal all our resources and build nuclear reactors underground,
Right.
maybe. But how we generate food? Our entire ecosystem is based on photosynthesis.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would stop instantaneously.
Well, if we could have some sort of infinite energy source, we like say we do nuclear and we don't care about the radioactive waste because we need to survive. You can power lights, you can power hydroponics, not many people would survive.
That's right.
Maybe if 1,000 people or something, but they could live for a long time. But the absolute 50 degrees above absolute zero, that's pretty intense.
I think
cold.
life would persist.
Yeah.
Something resembling life, bacteria, for example. Civilization would last weeks at the most, days probably.
Yeah. Wow. That's quick.
Because a city has what? 48 hours worth of supplies at any given time.
Right.
So that would stop instantaneously.
Okay.
But
that's interesting.
human race would be done with. So there you go, Dogulus Prime.
You
got your answer.
His answer, yeah.
So just have your bone now and enjoy it while you can. So have you got any questions for me, Graham?
Not right now, no.
I have many questions for you then.
Okay, go for it.
This is our segment called The Facts and the Furious. Theme music. Da, 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 da. Graham.
Yes.
What do you think the first city in the world was to use computerized traffic signals?
Before you said computerized, I was going to say something in Samaria. But, computerized traffic signals, the first city in the world. I want to say somewhere in China, maybe somewhere in South America, maybe.
This will shock you, by the way.
Oh, okay. So it's totally counterintuitive. Is it a city I've heard of?
It is indeed a city you've heard of.
A large metropolis?
A large metropolis.
Oh, well, then I'll say something like New York City.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
It's Toronto.
It is Toronto. Oh.
Where we are right now in the Science Monkey Studios, downtown Toronto.
Yeah, we are in the new studios of Science Monkey. That's right.
And I'm so frustrated today because I was half hour late getting here because of the bad traffic in downtown Toronto. So clearly those computerized traffic signals.
Before they were computerized, what was going on? Just a timer?
I think there was a monkey inside the thing.
A little man. A homunculus. So by computerized, you mean that they can adjust the signal duration based on traffic and so on and so forth?
I think it means there's a computer attached as opposed to a timer.
Exactly.
I don't even know what year this was.
Right.
That year would tell us how advanced
Apparently, the TTC, a lot of the delays on the transit system are signaling things. They're supposed to be upgrading the signaling system on the subway over the next 2 years. That's supposed to improve things.
Wow. We'll see what happens. Okay, more questions. What's the only mammal with legs that cannot jump?
I think I know this. I think it's an elephant.
That is correct.
Yes.
No, I've made it very specific. Usually people say, what's the only animal that cannot jump?
Yeah.
But, I think a whale is an animal that it can't jump.
Jumps out of the water.
Oh, damn you. That's right.
And also, elephant knees are like human knees. They all bend the same way.
Same direction.
Which is probably one of the reasons it's difficult for them to jump, and then also just being so huge, I would think. And they don't really have an evolutionary need to jump.
That's right.
So
Okay, what's the only continent with no active volcanoes?
I was going to say Antarctica, Australia.
That is correct, sir.
Ah.
I'm impressed. All right, on the same trend here, what's the only continent with no reptiles?
Because Australia is full of poisonous stuff, though, so it makes up for no volcanoes. No poisonous
No reptiles of any kind.
no reptiles of any kind. There's an entire continent without any reptiles.
Yeah.
That must be Antarctica.
There it is. It's a giveaway. So speaking of Antarctica, what percentage of Antarctica is actual land versus ice?
Actual land, 36.3%.
Where did that number come from?
Out of my ass.
What percentage of Graham is rectum?
If you want to sound authoritative, you be precise. You don't have to be accurate. Just be precise. We can talk about the difference between precision and accuracy.
Oh, yeah, we can say that for later. So apparently only 2% of Antarctica is land.
So the rest of it's ice.
Yeah.
So is it a continent?
Suddenly I'm not that impressed by it.
Yeah. So I would like to see a map where they remove the ice and just show the land. Is that
I'd like to see many things.
is that on the pole? Where is that land? As the ice shrinks, that number is increasing. Right. So what
true.
I would prefer is rather than a percentage, an actual square miles.
You prefer many things that you're not going to get.
I'm not going to get. Not for lack of trying.
Okay. Do all polar bears hibernate?
Do all polar bears hibernate? Under normal circumstances?
Yes.
I mean, right now they probably aren't as much.
Forget climate change.
Okay.
Polar bears typically, do they hibernate?
I've heard that very few animals actually really truly hibernate. So I'll say polar bears do not hibernate.
That's right. Not all of them do, but some of them do. What kind of polar bears hibernate?
The sleepy ones. There are different species of polar bears?
No. I'm being deliberately vague here.
Okay.
Not different kinds of species. Within the demographics of polar bears. Old, young, male, female,
okay.
two-legged, three-legged.
I'll say older male polar bears.
Only pregnant females hibernate.
Pregnant females. Do they gestate during the hibernation?
That must be the case.
The species question reminded me of something. I haven't actually independently verified this yet. What is the full scientific name, the Linnaean term for lowland gorilla?
Gorilla.
Gorilla.
Oh, there's three of them.
There are three of
Gorilla
them, yeah.
cubed. Nice.
Which reminds me, if you have a missile,
Yeah.
right, and you have another missile that's the anti-missile, that's the anti-missile missile.
Right.
If you have a third one, which they do now, they have the third one, that's called the anti-missile missile. I think if you count them all up.
I feel dumber now for some reason.
And finally, do you know the buffalo one?
Please.
Okay. Buffalo. That's a valid
Right.
sentence in English. I'll let you figure it out. But
But my one question
There.
is, can buffalo be a verb?
yes.
All right,
If you
that's-
buffalo someone, you're intimidating them.
I see. So the buffalo from buffalo is intimidating the buffalo from buffalo.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at that. We parse that sentence well. So I want to
You know, for a scientist, you're pretty good at language.
for a linguist, you're pretty good at science.
Apologies to all the scientists out there.
So the last set of questions have to
Okay.
do with. We should do this again some other time. Is the word for groups of things?
Yes. Oh, like the flock and the murder.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So obviously, owls. Group of owls is
It's a murder of crows and a bevy of owls? No.
no,
Geese.
a parliament of owls.
Parliament. Oh, yeah. I knew that too.
Geese. A group of geese is
I said bevy, but that's not right.
Right.
A gaggle.
gaggle. Is
Gaggle.
correct. Whales.
Pod.
Pod is correct. Foxes.
Ooh. A coven. I don't know.
A skulk.
A skulk of
foxes.
foxes. I like that.
Yeah,
Do you know what larks are?
they're a kind of bird.
A group of larks?
A larceny.
An exultation.
Wow.
In fact, there's a book on this very topic called An Exaltation of Larks.
Interesting. Good name for a hipster band.
Hmm.
So, kangaroos, a group of kangaroos.
Pouches. A pouch of kangaroos.
Mob of kangaroos.
Mob.
Who decides this stuff?
Apparently kangaroos can be quite dangerous. You know the cartoon where the boxing kangaroo?
Yeah,
well,
it's
they
real.
don't box with their upper limbs,
their
but
feet,
they actually rest on their tails and then just kick the shit out of you with their back legs, which are very powerful.
You know the
Kill
reason
you
for that
instantly.
is that not of volcanoes are keeping them in check.
That's right.
So, how about a group of rhinos?
A cornucopia of rhinos.
It's a crash of rhinos.
Oh, this is good. I like that.
And the last one is a group of frogs.
A group of frogs is a flotilla.
It's an army of frogs.
An army of frogs.
I want to segue from there into the very last question.
Okay.
And that is, what country is the world's biggest exporter of frogs' legs?
Exporter.
Yeah.
China.
No.
Okay.
China consumes a lot of frog legs.
I like to say China. Well, no, because I said that because pine nuts, it used to be Italy, I believe, and then China took over the pine nut. So you get
So logically, of course, it
frogs,
must be frog legs.
yeah.
I see.
yeah. So which country is it?
Well, the internet seems to think it's Japan. There are endless internet memes
You're
about
always
Japan,
citing the internet.
but it's not correct. It's actually Indonesia is the world's
Indonesia,
biggest
yeah.
exporter.
That makes sense.
What country consumes the most frogs?
Well, I would say France.
Is France, Belgium, and the USA?
Oh, okay. USA?
Yeah, and
Eats a
apparently
lot of frog legs.
There are 3.2 billion frogs every year that are consumed by people, to the point where some of them are going extinct. In fact, the California red-legged frog, Rana draytoni, went extinct in the 19th century because the Californian gold miners ate them all.
Ate them. Wow.
Look at that. Sucks to be a
So
frog.
they eat the whole frog. It's not a bunch of little legless frogs. Or legless frogs. Let's say that again. Legless frogs.
Rigorous frogs. Rigorous.
Rigorous frog.
Dear listener, we haven't started drinking yet.
No, maybe we should.
All right. I think that's all we have for today.
What does
Graham
that bring us
Sanders.
to in terms
That's
of time?
28 minutes.
28 minutes. We don't have 2 more minutes of gold that we can mine.
I got more questions.
Okay, let's do one more question.
All right. Here we go.
I'm a sucker for round numbers, but of course, even after we get to 30 minutes, you're going to edit it.
That's
so
right.
it's
In
gonna
fact,
end up-
all this banter here will get read out. Almonds. This is a multiple choice, by the way. Okay. Almonds.
Are you talking about a nut? Oh,
nut,
yeah.
yeah.
You said almond
I know.
initially.
And I'm going to edit that
And I
out.
almost left the room.
Yes.
Okay.
Almonds
Uh-huh.
are in the same family
Don't
as...
edit that stuff out. You should have your flaws. It's part of the joy of listening to the podcast, for me at least.
Damn you.
Almonds or what?
Same family as A, peanuts, B, dates, C, peaches, or D, bananas. Again, peanuts, dates, peaches,
or
bananas.
The Almond
Almonds.
Brothers. I heard recently the bananas are a type of berry, but I don't know if I believe that. I'd have to look that up. I don't think almonds are. Peaches, dates. I'll go for peaches because it just sounds ridiculous.
You are correct.
Yeah.
The family is called Rosaceae, if I pronounce it correctly, and that includes plums, cherries, raspberries, and roses.
No gorillas.
No gorillas, sadly. I wish we stopped the frog question. This one's kind of lame. But there it is. We didn't introduce ourselves. I just realized. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I said oop oop Ray Watt, and that was the extent.
There
of
it is. I'm here with Dr. Graham Sanders, and he's here with who?
with Ray Watt Diananda.
Right on. Until next time, this has been Science Monkey. Go visit us at sciencemonkey.ca.